Namaste and good evening to everyone present over here. Welcome to the final session of day one of Utkal Hacks 3.0. I'm Srinandan Das and I'll be your host for the evening. So we have Johan Eliasson, the founder and CEO of NHost and the sponsor of Utkal Hacks 3.0. Johan is here to talk through us about how front-end engineers can become full-stack engineers with NHost. Johan, over to you.
Hello, thank you so much, and so excited to be here and presenting for you guys. Really, this is a topic I'm very excited about, and I hope this will be beneficial for you too. So I'm just going to share my screen and jump right into it. So let's see, share screen. We can do this. So hopefully you see my screen, and I'm going to hide this one. So yeah, this is about a short presentation about NHost. We're running a little late, but that's fine. This is just going to take 30 to 45 minutes. So just short, brief introduction of NHost. So it's a tool and a platform for building apps really fast. And sort of going back to why NHost exists. So I'm a software engineer myself. I'm building a lot of apps, but every time I'm building a new app, there are some things I'm worried about. And this happens every time I build an app, and this happens every time anyone builds an app. And this is before you even begin building your app. So if we start from the left here, before you can even start building your app, you need to sort of figure out what kind of database am I going to use? How is my API going to work? How am I going to do storage? How am I going to let my users upload and download images and files and documents? And how do I log in my users? How do I register my users? How do the user management work? So a lot of stuff that you need to think about and sort of worry about before you can start building. Once you've decided on those topics, you still need to figure out how are you going to do performance, how are you going to do security, scalability if your app becomes very popular. And also to the far right here for the last point, productivity and maintenance, how are you going to do those parts? Like how fast are you going to add new features to the app you're building? How easy it's going to be to maintain, to add new features, change existing features. Let your friend or some coworker work on your app. How easy it's going to be for them to get started. So a lot of stuff that you need to figure out before you start building your app. And this is what we at NHost are trying to solve for every developer in the world. So we try to in 45 seconds, create the backend for you, so you can start building your app. And you can start building your app in web, any framework, any front-end framework. So it's totally front-end agnostic. You can use React. I'm gonna show you how to do it in React here in a couple of minutes for the web. But you can use React Native, iOS, Android, React Native, doesn't matter. The nice thing is that NHost will help you with the backend. So we will do the database API. For the database, for example, we're using a Postgres database, a relational database API. There's a GraphQL API automatically generated because we're using Hasura. Storage and user management as well, built in, performance secure, scalable, and no maintenance. So it's like a serverless backend. We will host and manage it for you. You just create your backend, your project, and it's there to start use right away. And there is one very popular service that do this already. That's of course Firebase, and I think a lot of you are familiar with this service. And they are doing a really good job at doing this backend as a service for users in the world. And I really like Firebase, but there are some drawbacks from my perspective with Firebase, and that was actually the reason for me starting NHost. So just quickly, so Firebase is using a NoSQL database, whereas we are using Postgres. Firebase is using REST, whereas we are using GraphQL. And Firebase is not open source, so if you start a project on Firebase, you're sort of stuck there. Everything on the NHost stack is completely open source, so you can host it yourself, or you can let us host it. It's fully open sourced and community driven. Last, I'm not going to go into a lot of details here, but here's NHost, and here's a couple of alternatives. As I mentioned, we're fully open source, and I think that's sort of, we're fully open source. There's a GraphQL API, and we have a lot of cool features built into the system. So for the rest of the presentation, I'm going to give you like a quick overview on how you can use NHost to get you to grasp the like the big picture, and then I'm going to build a real-time chat application with NHost and GraphQL in React. I prepared some parts, so I'm not going to do it fully from scratch, but you're going to see how we go from like a concept to a real application that works, like a production-ready application. So let's go into the overview of NHost. Let's close this presentation now. So this is what it looks like when you log in. You can actually log in using GitHub or email and password. Simplest thing is to use GitHub. You create a project and you decide where you want it to be hosted. So probably somewhere close to where you are at, so to give you a low latency. And we'll give a 14 days free trial here. So it's just very easy to get started. So once the project is started, let's see, I have prepared one project here for today. This is what it's going to look like. As I mentioned, you will have Postgres, you will have a GraphQL together with Hasura, authentication and storage. So there's a Postgres database you can access right from here, or copy this connection string and use any Postgres client to connect to your database. Hasura, I'm going to go into this just in a second. Authentication, here you can add users, just like you would expect. You can make them active, inactive, change roles, just manage all your users. I'm going to delete this one because we're going to register a user in the application later. Storage, same thing, add folders, upload files. So this is just a management interface. Usually what you would do is handle this with code in your application. A lot of settings here. You can, I'm not going to go into it, but various things you can do. Maybe change email templates for when someone signs up, they will get a particular email. Let's leave it at that. So one very big part of NHost is this Hasura console. So I'm going to open this this console and copy the admin secret. Okay, I'm already logged in, so I don't need to copy the admin secret and log in. So Hasura is a GraphQL engine, and you get this for your project. So this is your specific Hasura instance for your project here. And what Hasura do is that here you can manage your database. You can add tables, insert data, and Hasura will automatically generate a GraphQL API for you. So when you create a new project, for example, there are some pre-prepared stuff in your database. So for example, the users table here, it's already there. So we have the users table. So now we can start querying data from this table. So query, for example, users ID display name. So we don't have any users at the moment, so we're getting an empty string back. But let's say we add a user again here, as I did before. So authenticated, add users, and I'm going to add myself again. So now we have a user, and I'm going to query again. And you can see I'm getting some data back here. And if we look in the users table, our user is here. So that's pretty nice. And just to show you how easy it is to get started here, I'm going to create a, let's say, maybe we're building a CR, like customer relationship management system. So customers, we want to save all our customers here. So every customer, the table name is going to be customers. And then now I'm adding columns here. So I'm going to have ID, created that, updated that. This is just some frequently used columns. So you can see ID is going to be a UUID. Created that and updated that are timestamps type. And then let's say the name of the user we can have as well here. Let's see. As you expect, like if you are familiar with Postgres before, you can you have full capabilities here. So foreign keys, unique keys, constraint, primary keys, everything. But we're not going to use this now. We're going to use it later. But just to show you how easy it is, we created a customers table. Now we can insert some data. So maybe we have Google as a customer. Maybe we have Tesla. Maybe we have Apple. Let's see, here are our customers we have in our system, and we can try to query customers ID, name, and you can see we're making this GraphQL query and we get some data back. Super high level and very quick of how this works. And now we let's jump into the building, like the actual building of an application. This is what we want to do, right? We're on a hackathon. We want to build something useful. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this customers table, and we're going to work on our chat application. So customers, let's delete this one. And create a new table. So we're going to have messages. And we're going to have ID. Create that, and then just the text of the message. It's going to be type text. Nothing fancy here. So that's the messaging table. We don't have any messages yet. So instead, what we're going to do is I've prepared a application here. So let's see. This is just a React application. And I'm going to do yarn start. I'm going to jump into the code. And we're going to just briefly, let's see, maybe this was too much. We're just going to briefly see the code that is currently there. Let's see, yeah. And of course, I'm using React. You can use any framework, front-end framework you want. React is quite popular though, so I'm gonna use this one. So what we have here in the index.js in our application is just two providers, so NHost auth provider and NHost Apollo provider. And we wrap our whole application around these two providers. And this is just to make it very simple to log in our users and to register users and to make sure our user is logged in so we can control what part of the app the user can see and not see. Same thing with NHost Apollo provider. Apollo is the GraphQL client for React that we're using. So this is just to make it very simple for us to make GraphQL queries to our backend and receive some data back in our application. And we provided auth and GraphQL endpoint. So this is from React app GraphQL endpoint. So we can see in our .env, we can see we've specified the backend endpoint and the GraphQL endpoint. And this is specifically the URLs to our app. And you can get those two URLs in the dashboard, and you can see the GraphQL endpoint and endpoint for the backend authentication storage. So we have those two URLs here that we're using in our application. We also have, we're also initializing NHost with NHost.js SDK. This is for us to use authentication and storage. So this is just boilerplate code to initiate NHost into our application. And if we follow here, then we have a router. So let's look at this. So start here in the bottom. So you can see we have register, login, and then we have the router app, which is this component here. So basically, register and login, we can access those two endpoints. We have login and we have register. They're very look alike, and we're going to implement both of these functionalities here. Just quickly then, so then we have like the router app, and that is when the user is logged in. So here we have like an auth gate component, and the auth gate component just makes sure that the user is logged in, so they can access the dashboard and the settings. We haven't implemented this, but yeah, just access various parts of the application that only logged in users are allowed to see. So auth gate, very simple. It gets if the user is signed in, if it's loading, and if the user is not signed in, we'll redirect the user back to login. Otherwise, we'll just pass through, and the user can access the components. So when then we have register and login. So let's do one of the let's do both of those. So you can see I just prepared using Tailwind a very simple component here to register the user. So we have a form. We have let's see, 1, 2, 3 inputs. So we have like a display name, email, password, a registration button, and then a link to login. So you can see this component to have display name, email, password, and then submitting the data. So nothing happened. Register OK. Nothing is happening. There is no users yet. So let's just clear all our users so we know that there are no users, and let's implement this part here. So what we want to do is actually first import the auth object here from utils NHost. And this is the auth object I was talking about before. So now that is connecting to the NHost backend that we have. And once we have that imported, when we handle the submit, we of course want to register the user, right? So what we want to do is a try catch, and we want to do await auth.register. And then you can see email, password, options. So we have email, password, options. And here so the email comes from email here, right? And password from password. No, nothing strange here. And then we want to send the display name as well. So we want to set the user's display name. So I do this by using user data and display underscore name to be display name. I think this will do it. Let's reload this. So it's a little strange here. And if it fails, we're just going to return alert failed to log in, and maybe console log error. Okay, so now we've done this actually. So let's save it and go back to our registration. I'm just going to reload to make sure. So let's try to register a user. And let's just register. Registration okay, now login, right? And we get redirected to login. This is just we're pushing ourselves to login. So let's see if the user was inserted. Yeah, it was. You see, this is my display name I was using, my email address. So I'm able to register users in my application now. So that was pretty easy, right? I was just using the auth object here from NHost and register. That's it. Now let's do the same thing with login. So the flow here is very, very similar. So again, import auth from utils NHost. And then we can just copy this basically. And instead of register, we're going to do login. And here we only need to send in email and password. And if it fails, failed to log in, yeah, right. Did I type wrong here? Yeah, failed to register. Okay, login. It's very simple here again. Email, password, then you click login. Try to handle this submit. We just tell the auth object here to try to log in the user and then push the user to slash the dashboard page here. So let's see if this works. Use my email and my secret password. Click login, and as you see, I'm logged in. Where are we now in our application? Well, we are right here. So we are through the auth gate. The application knows that we're logged in, so that's fine. And we're rendering the dashboard component on the slash. So let's see what's under the. So right now it doesn't seem like much, right? It says login as U1, but we have an error here, and we're going to fix this. Let's see. So the dashboard. So here's a lot of code, but we're going to start down here. So this is the dashboard component. This is the dashboard component. And what's happening in this component is we're trying to get messages from our GraphQL API, so from our backend. And we're just going to say loading or error if any one of those triggers. So yeah, obviously we have an error here. We're going to fix it soon. But if everything is okay, we are just reversing the messages to list them correctly, and then we're just printing the messages. And then we have a send message component, so we can actually send new messages. So list messages and send messages. So let's get the, let's see what's wrong here. So we're using this get messages query. So let's actually just, let's see what's happening here. So I'm going to reload. Just going to see. So let's see, preview data. This is the header we get. But you can see field messages not found. And this is because we don't have permission. As a user, we don't have permission to get messages. So we need to fix permissions for users to get messages. So we're going to go back to Hasura, and this is the, of course, messages we're trying to get. So here in permissions, we have the user role, and you can see a user is not allowed to insert, select, nor update, nor delete anything. That is why we get this error. So we want to allow users to select messages, and we're going to do that without any special checks, but instead we're going to allow users to select created at ID and text, right? So we're going to save those permissions. So now users are allowed to select messages. And let's see if we just update here, the error is not there anymore. So, but there are no messages. But that's fine. We can insert some messages just to test. So test 1, test 2, and maybe test 3. So we have 3 messages in our chat application, and I'm going to reload the application now. And you can see the application is fetching those 3 messages and displaying them for us. Very simple. So now we can get new messages. And of course, now we want to insert, we want to add new, we want to be able to add new messages here. Like, so we want to say hello, and we want to send that message to do insert send messages here. So let's implement how to insert something into our backend. So what I'm going to do, this is a send message component. So what we're going to do here is implement the send, a way to insert messages. So let's see. So we're going to use const insert messages equals GraphQL. So we're going to write our GraphQL here to insert. So it's going to be mutation, insert message, do a singular here. And it's going to be, let's see, text, string, and usually what I do is I try to, because the documentation automatically generates, so let's see here, insert messages. We can use this one. So it's going to be insert messages, objects. Let's do like this instead. This message objects. Yeah, this is the GraphQL syntax. So I want to send in a message, basically, and I'm going to receive back the affected row. So how many rows was affected in the database? So this is going to be hopefully 1, because we're going to insert 1 message at a time. It doesn't matter much what this is, actually. The important thing is that we're inserting a message. So the way it works in React and Apollo is that we're using something called mutation. So insert message and insert message. And I need to import this. So I'm telling this is like a hook. So insert message here is the GraphQL mutation that we want to run, and we have this function that we can run anywhere we want here in the component. So we want to run it here, right? So when we handle the submit, we want to do await insert message, and then we're going to set the variables message, and I think we're only going to set the text of the message, right? I think this is fine. Let's do a console error here. Alert failed to insert message. There's always a risk that when you do live coding, that there's something wrong when you do it. So let's see if we get some useful information here if something fails. Basically, what we want to do is we want to insert a message and just send it and insert it into the backend. So let's see. Test. Failed to insert message. Yeah. So again, no mutation exists. This is because we're lacking permission. Like users are only allowed to select, right? But they're not allowed to insert. So let's allow users to insert messages, and they are only allowed to insert text here because ID and created as is going to be automatically generated. So I'm going to save this permission. I'm going to try again. Test 2. Ooh, we didn't get an error there, so everything is fine. I'm going to reload the page, and you can see this is the message we inserted, and we have it right here. So that's pretty cool. So now we can actually add new messages. We can click enter, and I'm reloading that, and the messages are there. So it's not very nice to have to reload the app every time you want to receive some new messages. Of course, you want to have this data in real time. So instead of querying data, we're going to subscribe to data. And what it does is querying data, just get the data one time, and we need to reload everything to get new data. With subscriptions, you get data in real time. So every time something changes in your database, you will have those changes immediately in your application. I'm going to show you how it works. And it's very easy. So instead of use query, we're using subscription. And instead of querying these messages, we're going to subscribe. Subscribe. Let's see, is it subscribe or subscribe? Let me check. Subscription, okay. And instead of use query here, we're going to just change it to use subscription. So we changed 3 things there. Subscription, that looks better. Subscription, we're going to use a subscription instead of query. And let's see what happens here in our application. Let's just write something new and click enter. And you can see right away we didn't need to reload the application or anything. It was just there immediately. And just to really show you how useful this is I'm gonna have my application here to the left, and the database management Hasura console here to the right. And I'm just going to insert something like from Hasura. You can see right away it gets updated. So 2, 3, 4. Immediately, like the data synchronized across all clients. And this is like if you would have this chat window open on your side, you will see those changes right away as well. And this works for, like, I'm inserting data, but I can also change data. So instead of this last message here from Hasura 4, let's do something, someone edited, like edited. I'm going to save it, and you can see right away the data syncs inside our application. So this is very powerful, and this is sort of what you would expect from a modern application, right? You're not polling for data. You don't need to reload the page to get new data. Like, the data is synchronized all the time, and this is what we're doing right here. Let's see if we can make this interactive a little bit. Let's just test this. This is an experiment. So I'm going to open up my port here, 300, and this is going to be the public link to this application on my computer. And maybe, I don't know if someone can help me get this to the chat, but I'm going to paste it here. Maybe some admin can paste it in the chat in YouTube, so you can all see it. And you can register an account. Like, click on the link, register an account, and you can test the chat application here. So in the meantime, I'm going to do one last thing, and that is we want to know who is sending the messages, right? So right now everyone can send a message, but it's not very useful, like who sent what, right? If we have a lot of users in our application. So we're going to do the following. We're going to link every message with a user, so we know who sent which message, and then we're going to display the username here in our application as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a new column to our messages. I'm going to call it user ID, and this is going to refer to the user making this specific message. The type is going to be UUID. Let's see, that wasn't right. It's not going to be nullable, so what I need to do is actually remove all messages first. You will see those messages disappear to the right. Let's see, user ID, text, not text, UID. I'm going to save this. What I need to do now is add a foreign key, and this is important because I want to tell Postgres that user ID refers to this table and refers to this column, so the ID in the user's table. So I'm going to add this foreign key to tell Postgres. So the user ID is going to refer to user's ID, right? I'm going to set this to cascade. What I need to do now is to track this relationship within Hasura, so the GraphQL understand that there's a relationship here. So I'm tracking this. What this means is that now I can start doing something like query messages. So we have message, we have text, but now we can actually jump to the user making this message, right? So now we can say ID and display name of that user. We don't have any messages yet, but just to give you an understanding that we connected the messages table with the users table, and because of that, we, inside our GraphQL API, can now jump between different tables and grab data very, very easily for us to display. So let's actually copy this and use this in our application. Before I'm doing that, since we're also fetching user data, I'm just going to create all the permissions here so we don't end up with any permissions issues. So I'm going to go to the users, going to select, oh, maybe I already did this. Yeah, so users are allowed to select ID and display name and avatar URL. We're not using this, but for every user, so that's fine. So let's go back to our get messages, right? So we get the text, and also now we want to see the user making this request. So we're going to do ID and display name. And we, of course, want to show this. So let's show this here. So we're going to go messages, message, user, display, save it. Let's see. We don't have any messages yet, so I'm going to copy my ID here and insert something. Hello. I'm going to save. Let's see. Maybe I need to reload this. Okay, there we go. As you can see, we see the user making this request now. And this is really useful. What we want to do as well now is when we're inserting, when a user inserts something, we want to automatically set the user ID for that user. So we're going to do user ID from session variable etc user ID. This is just so the user ID column gets set automatically, and we know that it's the right one. So we're going to save this permission. All right. Let's rearrange everything a little bit again. So we can do hello to, nice, right? And I can open up a new window and register a new user. So I don't know, Tom. Register a new user really quick and in. Now I can send messages. Well, so I'm telling it that's another user, and you can see we have two different users. We have Tom and we have myself, and we can see who's sending messages, and everything is synchronizing across the chat application. So just to recap really quickly, using NHost, it's very easy to do authentication and storage. We didn't do storage for this presentation, but it's also very easy to use. So we register the user, we logged in the user. We used these two providers to make it very easy for our React application to know the state of the user, if the user is logged in or not. Also very easy here with Apollo provider to make GraphQL requests to get data, insert data. You can also update and delete data. It wasn't in the scope of this presentation, but it's equally simple. Login was as simple as auth login, right? Simple, register, same register, just use the register method. Dashboard, we use subscription to get the data in real time. We just request the data we want. So you can see we're requesting messages, we're ordering them by created at, and we just want to have the 15 latest messages. We just specify exactly the data we want, and we get just that, right? We get this, we can display it inside our application. We also did a send message component, so we were able to insert messages. Okay, I'm gonna, if this is helpful for you, I'm gonna try to create a repository on GitHub and give you the link so you can take a look at this. Otherwise, I was very nice to present this presentation for you, and I hope you found it useful. So thank you.
For the wonderful session. It was really nice to have a walkthrough of how the platform helps developers interact with the backend, and I'm sure people have enjoyed it as much as I have. So before we move on to the questions, I have a question for you. So at what point in your life did you feel the need to start this company? Like, what were the challenges did you face in particular? And at what point did you feel like this is enough? I have had enough of the resources available around me. I'm going to start my own company, and this is what I'm going to proceed with.
Yeah, really good question. So for myself, I'm a software engineer, and I also like to build projects. So I'm pretty entrepreneurial by nature. So for me, it's very I have a lot of ideas, and I want to get them out in the public as soon as possible. So as soon as I have an idea, I want to build it, and I just want to have it out there so customers can try it out, friends can try it out. So I've always been very I'm always looking for the optimization when it comes to developing, right? So if something take 1 hour instead of 10, that's better. So if I can, and if it takes 45 seconds for me to create the backend instead of maybe weeks, that's much better, right? So I was trying Google Firebase, and Firebase is doing a really good job at this, right? We all tried it, we all like it because it's so easy and useful. But I have a lot of experience building application, and for me, Firebase didn't really meet my criteria. So I was just like, someone needs to do this. Someone needs to do this. It's going to be me. It's going to be someone else. It doesn't matter. I just want this. And I think you talked about this a little bit in your previous sessions. Like what do I want to work, or what should people work on? What should people do? What projects should people do in this hackathon, for example? And a really good way of deciding is to solve a problem for yourself, because you can always think about, what would be the ideal solution. You can always ask yourself, and then you can implement that. So I was doing specifically that. I was like, I need a backend that is, in my opinion, better than Firebase, and no one else is doing it, so I might as well do it. And this is the advantage we have as engineers. We can go from having an idea to actually implement it. And this is like, if you were an engineer 20 years ago, it was very hard to get like a really nice application up and running. Like we're in the best of times building applications and building solutions for ourselves and for users around the world, right? I'm sitting here in Sweden, and I am trying helping engineers all over the world. So this is really cool, I think.
That's really wonderful to hear, Johan. Thank you for the response. Could you also walk us through the challenges you faced while starting up this company? Because you had the idea initially and you wanted to implement it, but since you are starting up something new, then it means that it is something that hasn't been done by a lot of people. So what are the challenges, major challenges that you faced, and how did you overcome it?
Yeah, good question as well. And this is something that is overlooked sometimes from engineers. And this is very important. You need to try to validate and verify your idea as quickly as possible. So you want to make something very small, like you want to spend maybe a few days, maybe a few weeks, like max. And then you need to verify that you're on the right track, that you are actually building something that someone wants, that someone would like to have. So you're building a small, maybe you're spending a few days, few weeks at max, and then you need to verify it. And by verifying, I mean you need to go ask people if this is something they would like to use. And don't ask your mom, don't ask your friends. Try to ask someone that will give you an honest answer. And try to, the best way, like sometimes when you ask people, they will say, yeah, this is really good. And you think, okay, now I'm on the right track. But people are also, you should think that people are also, they don't want to get in conflict, let's say. So they maybe won't always give you the honest answer. So always look for actions. Always, like if you building something and you tell someone, it could be a friend, that's fine in the beginning, but also maybe someone like a friend of a friend. So you have some going a little bit wider, and see if they want to use it. Like don't just ask, is this good or not, but maybe like, would you use it? Like, would you use this next week, or will you pay, and will you pay for it? That's the ultimate verification. Like if people are willing to pay maybe $5 a month, $20 a month, that's really, really useful information. So try to validate your idea as soon as possible.
Thank you, Johan. So we'll be taking up questions from participants. Guys, if you have any queries related to the session Johan presented, if you have any questions on NHost about the things Johan mentioned, you can drop it in the comment section and we'll take it up. There is a minor delay between delay between the comments mentioned in YouTube and what displays up over here. So we'll take a couple of seconds and we'll relay the same to you.
Sure.
Feel free to post any questions regarding the session or anything you want to ask Johan. Johan is ready to answer. Okay. All right. So I am not able to see any questions. Saurav, Ayaz, if you guys want to add anything, we can take it up if you have any questions, or if you want to add something to whatever Johan just mentioned. Saurav, if you're speaking, you are on mute.
Hi.
Yeah, you're audible now.
Like one question I would like to ask. I know the answer, but I would like to know this answer for our hackers. But so how different is it from like how NHost is different from Firebase and other things? Maybe this might be a question that might be hackers are looking for, but we could answer that. Yeah.
No, it's very similar. It's very similar. So you can go with Firebase, you can go with NHost. Both are fine. Like we're trying to solve the same problem. It's just that how can I say? Like, let's say you want to go from point A to point B, and you can drive a car, right? You can drive a Volvo or you can drive a Tesla. That's sort of the difference between the services. So both are fine, but some services are better than others, even if they're trying to solve the same problem. The part we are focusing on is a relational database, and this is because most data is relational. You saw in my presentation, I needed to connect a user with a message, for example. There's a relation there. So using something like Postgres is very powerful. Like Postgres is one of the world's most advanced databases, and most loved and all this. So it makes it very easy to get started quickly. I just created 2 tables and that was it. But you can dig deep into the functionalities of Postgres. So that's one. And then the second one is I would say GraphQL. Like also very simple to query data across tables. I can jump between tables. I can get the like maybe I just need a few columns per table. I can specify, like as a front-end engineer, I can specify I only need this data because this is what I'm going to display in my UI. Makes it very simple to use as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, makes sense. I think the major difference that people could actually notice is with Firebase, they're limited to the NoSQL database that Firebase has underneath the Firebase. But with NHost, actually, we get access to PostgreSQL, and that's powerful. And as a developer, I feel much freedom using Firebase than NHost because it gives me the freedom to choose my own favorite database. So yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
So if we do not have any questions, or maybe you're also Johan is already on our Discord. So if people are not live right now, they definitely ask questions in our NHost channel, and maybe Johan could also answer the questions if people come up with some questions later on. So if we are not receiving any questions, maybe we can wrap up. Yeah.
All right. Okay. All right. Thank you, Saurav. Yeah. So like Saurav mentioned, maybe we can take it to the Discord and we can take the questions offline over there. Thank you, Johan, for the wonderful session. Really helped us have a good overview of the application you have created, and it definitely sums up how easy it is for front-end developers to become the complete full-stack developers using the platform that you have managed to create. It will help a lot of people who have taken up this journey of full-stack development and are currently in the front-end phase. So really wonderful to have you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for being a sponsor as well. Everything that we have managed to present over here is because of you. So thank you for your time. And we do hope that we can collab sometime later in the future and have you as a part of speaker and mentor.
Yeah, like equally from my side. Thank you for hosting this hackathon. Really excited. Hopefully there's a lot of good ideas coming out of this, and hopefully NHost can be a part of it. Hopefully it's helpful. I'm going to be in the Discord and try to answer questions if there's any. So yeah, good luck with all of this. Really excited.
Thank you, Johan. All right. So we can probably wrap up the session. Thank you all for joining, and it has been a start to our hackathon to Utkal Hacks 3.0. We will continue more tomorrow. And if you have any questions you wanted to ask to Johan, like Saurav mentioned, he is available on our Discord channel, so you can drop message to him. Thank you all for joining. It has been a wonderful session. It has been wonderful being part of this session. And we will have more in store as the days progress. And see you all tomorrow. Thank you, everyone.